Hello onions, you find me today out in the chicken field, and I've actually started doing something yesterday, but it was raining too much to get the proper camera out. So here's a quick interlude of me yesterday digging and dumping, fnar, and after you've watched that I'll tell you what's going on. Wasn't that exciting? Right, last summer, don't you remember those 2 weeks when it stopped raining? I dug a fire pit here in the middle of the field, and as I've said before in previous videos that have involved me digging here, you go down about a couple of inches of topsoil, then you get to a load of toxic clinker, and then once that's cleared away you get to a kind of flat clay bed, which in my stupidity, not taking into account the weather we have here, I thought, oh, that'll make a good bed for a base for a fire pit. And I dug down a hole and levelled it out and just had a clay bed in it, and then put clay up around the sides, thinking that I'll light some fires here in the summer and the heat from the fire will kind of bake the clay and make it into a semi-permanent feature. In fact, I may have some footage of me digging it when it was going to be a fire pit, so if I have, I'll put that in now. And if I haven't, then nothing will have happened there. So anyway, dug it out, lined it with clay, and we had a couple of tiny fires in it, and then the beautiful Northumberland liquid sunshine did what it always does, and the thing basically started filling up with water, which didn't drain away because of the clay base. Hold that thought. You may also remember that in a different video I dug a tiny bucket pond at the foot of the chicken field, or it should have been called a Trug pond actually, because I used one of those plastic growing bucket things, which is apparently called a Trug according to Mazza. And I dug that down the far end of the field, and that did okay. We had some tadpoles in it, we had some mini frogs, we had a few things living around it, but it was very wee. So you can see where I'm going with this. I thought I'm going to get rid of the fire pit because it's pointless. I've got a load of old colour gas cans, so I'll make some kind of brazier out of that instead for summer fires. And I thought down the bottom end, having seen what happened to my fire pit, because I had been waiting to try and get some sort of pond liner to make the pond bigger, I thought, well, I'll just dig it out and line it with clay and have a natural pond that's just clay lined and see how it goes. So that was what was happening at the start of this video. The time lapses from yesterday were restarting, digging out the pond down here and filling in what I dug out in the old fire pit. So that brings us to today. So I'll flip you around and we'll see where we're up to since yesterday. Here's the fire pit, as was, which is now almost filled in, but obviously needs piled up a load more because it'll sink a lot. I've saved some bits of turf to put over the top, and if we go down to the old pond, the old bucket pond, which is now a slightly bigger bucket pond, you can see that already it's starting to fill up with water, So what I was hoping to do today was dig more of this out, because I want to make it a bit bigger than this. That's the original pond, and that bucket, so that's what size it was originally, so it's a lot bigger already. And what I was hoping to do today was a bit more digging and widening this and levelling off the bottom. You can see how it turns into clay on the bottom. I've also, over here, been saving clay for doing the sides with. So I shall put the time-lapse on again, because you don't want to watch me digging in real time, and we'll carry on from where we left off yesterday. Right, that'll have to do for today. Our man's not as young as he used to be. I'm bloody knackered. Probably doesn't look like much on the stop frame, but or time lapse. Even now it's got stop frame, but it's at the topsoil is full of tree roots, because you can see behind me there's a load of birch trees growing down here, obviously because of the wet in the ground. Then once you get through that, you've got a load of rubble and clinker, and then once you get through that, you've got the clay, which is good because it'll give me a nice bed for this pond, I hope. But it's a fucker to dig. It's like trying to dig plasticine, and it weighs a ton. So I didn't get quite as far as I wanted. I've got it pretty much excavated to the size I want. I don't want it too big, because chances are it'll turn into an ecological disaster and I'll have to end up filling it in again. So that's about it really. That's as far as I've got today on Operation Fill in a Fire Pit and make a pond slightly bigger than it used to be. For now, I'm going to tidy up and go and get me din-dins, so I'll catch you later. Hello there again. Right, it's been about a week, probably more than a week, since I filmed the last excavation. Since when, in typical fashion, we've had about 3 or 4 days of torrential rain, then it snowed for a bit, not too deep, but everything was frozen over, and that lasted about 3 days. So today, if I swivel behind me somewhere, it's probably gone now, actually. It's gone behind the trees, but you do actually have some sunshine, although it's still quite nippy. There's definitely a bit of iciness to the wind. However, I'm going to do a bit more digging on this pond. I think I made the sides of it too steep, because thinking about when I did the fire pit, I did the sides of that vertical and it was just impossible to get any clay to stick to it, which is why I had to put those tiles around the edge. As you can see, it's filling up quite well. There's actually some ice on the surface there, but I'm pleased to note that it seems quite clear, the water, so I think it will clear. But yeah, looking at the sides, I'm just going to try today, go round the edge and just scallop, that's not the word for it, but just take the slope back a bit there so it's not so vertical. So I shall set you up on the old time-lapse camera and get a bit of that done. Shoch. Right. In what could be a blueprint for my life, that didn't quite go according to plan, so I'm gonna have to end up making it up as I go along, or adaptability as I call it. The plan was originally to try and slope the sides back here at a bit of a 45-degree angle to ease the application of clay up the sides, but I'll get a better view of this. When I started digging down again, like there, you can see just how flat a level the clay bit is. So what I thought was, instead of trying to slope that, I'll just clear the top of the clay to where it's flat, and then I can kind of build up round the edge here, almost like a kind of donut wall of more clay round the edge. I've done probably about half of it, the lower end. I've not got much left in my piles of salvaged clay, but yeah, I'm quite happy with that. It actually, by the time I'd blended the clay I was putting on the edge into the kind of shelf bit, it actually ended up looking kind of like what I had envisaged in the first place, i.e. more of a 45-degree slope. More of same to come, but as I say, for now, that'll do me. Been digging for hours and shoveling shite about, so I'm bored of it now. So I shall repair to the pavilion and call it a day for now. So, to be continued. I think I forgot to mention this earlier, but when I started clearing that bit round the edge and taking the turfs off, this is what I was doing with them. This is the hump of gravelly shite where the fire pit used to be, so I've covered that over with turfs now. Still a big hump, but I reckon it'll sink down a load, because I didn't really compact it or anything when I filled the hole. I just dumped it in, so that'll compact down a lot, I think. Hello again, it's a couple of days later. I just came out to do a wee bit, and I wasn't going to bother filming because I thought I'll just be more of same, but things are progressing a wee bit, so I thought I'll get the camera anyway, and I'll show you where we're up to, so swivelly time. You will notice the pond now has furniture. I was bailing out some of the water that was in it so I could see the bottom. There's me bailing tool, so kind of standing with one leg on here and one leg on that chair and bailing out. Got down where I could see more of the bottom and scooped a lot more kind of slushy, rubbly gravel out. So what I'm proposing to do now, because patience was never one of my virtues, is just get on with putting the stones in to line it. So as you can see, I've already dropped one in, and then after I'd done that and made a huge splash, I thought this is the kind of thing I should be time-lapsing, trying to lay the stones around the inside of it. So I'm going to put you on time-lapse again while I go and do that. So in spite of appearances, the bottom is actually all lined. It's just some of it sunk down, especially over in that end where I had that chair. The legs obviously made holes in the clay, which slurped up through when I put rocks on top. But we're getting there. I was running out of flat rocks to do the sides with, because obviously the rounder they are, the more likely they are to roll down. So I want to try and get flat ones up the side. But we're coming along bit by bit. This is my disembodied voice from the future. I did record another wee video insert here, but there was just too much wind noise and the soundtrack was unusable. So I'm just going round the edge of the pond where I've been tramping down the clay in the soil for the past week or two and just scuffing it all up with a rake. And then chucking down a wee bit of seed. I found this packet of red clover seed in the house and I've got some grass seed in the van, so I just chucked a bit of that down as well, which will hopefully fill in the gaps. So we'll leave it there for now and we shall return at a later date in a few days, weeks, months, years, centuries, whenever I get round to it, and we'll see if the pond is holding water. Spoiler alert, not very well. Have we got any wildlife moving in? Did we get any aquatic plants? Did the ground where I'd been tramping round the edge of it recover? All these questions and more will be answered at a future date. But in the meantime, cheers for watching.